60,552nd second dose administered. This is really surprising. Only 34 people booked in for a vaccination over the next 7 days, and 12,014 shots of vaccine currently being held in stock by the Department of Health and Social Care. I'm delighted to bring on the new president of Tynwald, the Honourable Laurence Skelly. Mr. Skelly, good afternoon.
Fast am I, Andy. A pleasure to be here.
Well, last time we chatted, you were Minister for Enterprise. We've talked when you've been plain old MHK. Good heavens, what a journey this has been. It
has, yes, and it's a huge role. I'm deeply honoured, deeply humbled, and but there is a big adjustment to the role, and I'm in the process of that decoupling from ministerial duties and MHK duties, and obviously taking in the role and responsibility of President of Tynwald.
How do you prepare for this? Obviously, you put your name down for it. You said you were either going to retire from politics, you weren't going to stand as an MHK, so you bet everything on number 7. You said it's president for Tynwald or nothing.
Well, no, I decided I was not going to stand for MHK, and was going to either go back to the private sector or put my name in the hat, which I did, of course, for the president of Tynwald. So it's a very, very different role. Obviously, as a minister, you're part of government, and I was very, very fortunate to do the job of minister for nearly 8 years, and obviously MHK there for 10 years. But now this is a parliamentary role, which is very different from being in government, and that's what the opportunity is here today to kind of talk about, I think, yes, the difference between Parliament and government.
And that role, you've obviously watched people within that role from afar and sometimes close to as well. Can you, in a nutshell, I don't want to, we need a pen portrait really for somebody who doesn't quite, are you the referee?
Well, some people have referred it to that, and the president of Tynwald, which is in Manx terms, probably Tynwald terms, is relatively new. I think it was 1990, the first president, which was Sir Charles Carouche.
And before that, it was the Lieutenant Governor, wasn't it?
It was indeed, and that was sort of a major constitutional change for the island, and the island has gone through a number of those over the decades and centuries. But ultimately, 1990, that changed, and we had Sir Charles Carouche, we then had Noel Kringle, and we've had Claire Christian and Steve Roden, and been very fortunate, obviously, to take on the role myself here now. So, but this is about being impartial and respecting the integrity of government, respecting the members, and that is both the government as well as the backbenchers.
Okay, let's go to Howard with us, who's on the Mannin Line. Good afternoon, Howard. You're live with the President of Tynwald.
Good afternoon, Andy. Good afternoon. Now we call you Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Howard. Pass the mic to you.
I realised until Barry told me I'd forgotten that you were on today, but maybe this cause some thought. I read over the weekend that the Douglas Town Council, I know you're part and parcel of that, but you could have some influence, are talking about doing a 2-weekly collection on the bins. Whether it materialise or whether it won't. But you only have to look at some of the places within the UK have gone to a 2-week collection, in some cases even 3 weeks. And people are still putting an equal amount of rubbish out, but this time in plastic bags. And of course, I don't know anywhere else on the island, you would put me right on this, whether there are 2-week collections. But dogs, cats, birds and everything are going to get into these bags, and we're going to have a lot of rubbish flying around Douglas, which won't help. Now, I know when you were Minister for the...
for Enterprise.
That would have been one of the things that you want to see, the cleanliness of the island. Now, the corporations seem to have their rose-coloured glasses on, and this is not going to happen. But also, how do they fare with the contract of employment with the bin men, who will have to be transferred to another job, and the wagons sit idle for a week?
Okay, well, we're talking about the President of Tynwald, but everything is politics on the Isle of Man.
It is, and thanks, Howard. And I think you said I have some influence in this particular area. I don't actually have any influence. The only comment I can make is I actually live in the parish of Rushen, and I know quite a number of rural parishes that do 2 weekly bin collections, and it works quite well. So lots of people recycle there today too, which is another factor I think that comes into play. But this obviously is a matter for Douglas Corporation, and as each individual commissioners will probably need to consider their position too. But sadly, the president of Tynwald would not have any influence in that particular issue.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. But I think, if people are going to go down this road, or the council are going to go down this road, then they think of the larger number of people that are in the borough of Douglas, the area of Douglas, as opposed to a rural area. The quantity of rubbish that could be left out on the streets for a week, 10 days, it could become pretty grim. But thanks for your information and your help on that anyway.
Okay.
Thank you, Howard.
All right.
Appreciate the call.
Thanks, Howard. And here comes the point then, Mr. Skelly. You've been in politics for a long, long time. You've had to take sides on many issues. You've had to lobby. You've had to, a job of a politician sometimes is to stymie opponents. Now you have to sit on the fence. I mean, as presiding officer, you have to remain impartial. But in the case of a tied vote in Ledgeco, you do have a casting vote, don't you?
That is correct. Just only in Ledgeco for that condition. But you're right. That is part of the adjustment. But I do think, for me personally, the opportunity of having that experience and understanding from a backbencher, from a minister, where each of those members are actually coming from when they laying motions and putting questions down, etc. That I hope will lend not just me in good stead in terms of being able to preside over Tynwald and also Ledgeco, but also assist and respect the integrity of each of the members who do want to ask questions, because they always recognise they are important, but also to try and get that balance right and get their motions together. But we are about to introduce a new way of operating in motions, and you'll know this obviously, because when you see a motion that goes on the order paper, you only see that less than 2 weeks out. Members see them 13 days out, and it's 12 days out before it actually goes public. But we're about to introduce a new register of business where motions for debate, topical issues, papers for laying can actually be laid up to 6 weeks in advance. And what that does do, it allows not just members, the public and you, the media, the opportunity therefore to express a view and get that message over to your elected representatives before that hits the floor at Tynwald, and hopefully be a little more informed and effective with regards to debates and motions coming forward. So we believe that will be an enhancement to this new Tynwald.
Okay, now the President you authorise the order paper for sittings, don't you?
Correct.
And then obviously you're controlling procedures within inside Tynwald Court, and you have to interpret. And this is the old favourite. You have to interpret standing orders.
Correct, yes. And clearly,
which, basically is the rule book. It's how things happen.
It is, and there is a standing orders committee that persistently actually review those issues, and it does get amended from time to time. But ultimately, the President is that authoritative position in making that ruling. Clearly, ably assisted by the clerks of Tynwald, who I have to say, in my first sitting, which is sort of a baptism of fire as you're thrown right in there, gave me tremendous counsel and advice to get through that very extensive order paper that we had.
Okay, is this a full-time role? Does it fill a week?
Well, it's a good question, really, because a lot of people ask that question. I think we had a hustings, which we'd never had a hustings for the President of Tynwald before. And yes, there is a role and responsibility for the sittings, but there is a role and responsibility in the running of the office there. There is a role and responsibility, I think, from an ambassadorial perspective, where I've had quite a lot of communication, particularly off island, and being in politics for the 10 years I have had been, there's quite a lot of contacts and already building those relationships up from an ambassadorial point of view, promoting Tynwald and the Isle of Man and PLC from that point of view. And the other one, which we don't hear about, is the pastoral responsibility that the President has. And I've already been engaging with a number of members who can come and speak openly, privately to the President. And again, with the President not being part of government or backbencher, being very impartial, and hopefully with a bit of experience can help guide them through whatever issues they're going through.
And in that pastoral role, then, typically, what sort of things?
Well, it can be a lot of issues, and I think the pressure that the government politicians have been under these last 18 plus months, living through this pandemic, the challenges there, and I think the one which I'll come back to again is mental health. There's a severe amount of pressure, and now MHKs who and prospective candidates are going going forward for a general election. So mental health is an important issue, but just having that opportunity and speaking and talking to members does go a long way. I know I've exercised that in the past with the President, and I'm glad to say members are already coming to me now.
Yeah. 6 weeks this coming Thursday, it's the general election, and it's a chance for a whole new generation of people, maybe people who've just moved to the Isle of Man, to learn about politics on the Isle of Man. And obviously, if you've come from elsewhere, you won't know the structure, you won't know Keys, Legco, obviously, where the Chief Minister fits in, and the President. So let's clarify this as well. The President of Tynwald, it's a titular post. It is somebody, you're there as presiding officer over Tynwald Court, which is the Manx Parliament.
That's correct, and it's traditionally done at the last Tynwald sitting of that last administration for the next 5 years. So technically, that's a 5-year contract, the same as what MHKs would actually be going to the polls on the 23rd of September. Is that they are effectively going to become an MHK for the next 5 years, and once that election has occurred, then the Speaker is the next thing that is decided upon by the House of Keys, and then the Chief Minister. And of course, behind that, then a government is formed by the appointing of ministers and members that happens behind that. So, in terms of you're right. We live it and breathe it. We understand it. But that's our democracy, and our democracy is different. It is unique. We have a tricameral system, the House of Keys, which we're obviously heavily focused with at the moment. But Legco, Legislative Council, is there, and of course Tynwald, the three together is what makes it unique. And they do work well together, and I think that has been proven, particularly for me, witnessing this last administration in terms of the value, because there's always question mark and challenge around what does Legco do as well at the same time. Keys we know about because they're in the public eye an awful lot, but what does Legco do? And the value that they brought, I think, to the legislation and the motions and the debates has been really strong. It has been very healthy, I think, for our democracy, and really demonstrate what value of Tynwald is.
Just as an aside, and again, you can not or answer this as you will, but what do you think of MLCs pitching for MHKs? Typically, it was always the other way around. Somebody was an MHK for many years and then went up to Legco. Now we've got people wanting to do the reverse.
Yeah, it is an interesting development, that actually, and we've had, as you say, that in times past, there's always been MHKs have been elevated to Legco, and for good reason. MHKs understand legislation and Tynwald the operating side of it, but that's changed over the last sort of 5+ years, and I think we only have one sitting member who's the grandfather of the house, Bill Henderson, as a former MHK. So we're seeing the reverse of that now, I guess, where Legco members now feel that they want to provide I guess, a value that as a publicly elected member, and I guess it's their right and their opportunity. Tim Crookall, I think, stood down from being an MLC, and he's come forward too. So there, I think again, once more, people, there is still time if people do want to stand, that they can put their name forward and be part of the unique democracy that we have here on the island.
Okay, Adam's with us now on Mannin Line. Hi, Adam. You're live with the president of Tynwald.
Good afternoon, Andy, and hello, Mr. Skelly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, I was going to say, in the days of Alan Bell, the government structure and the departmental structure was rearranged, and they got rid of the Department of Local Government and the Environment and the Department of Tourism and Leisure. And recently, Alex Allinson has said that the heritage railways don't really fit very well with the Department of Infrastructure. And over the last 10 years, since the time of Alan Bell, I think there's been a bit of a decline in some cases in local government and the quality of local government and the quality of some urban environments, in particular the quality of Douglas. And does he think that it's time to bring back perhaps a department specifically for local government? I mean, local government and the environment fits quite well with tourism because it's all about places and spaces and planning and design. And so would the minister, as president of Tynwald, is he going to be encouraging the chief minister to look at how the department is structured and perhaps bringing back a department of local government and a department of tourism combined perhaps? What's his thoughts on that?
Thank you, Adam. Again, that's a question for government. A very good question for your prospective MHKs knocking at your door. You make some very valid points there, Adam, and I would strongly recommend you do air them to those prospective candidates. But structure of government is one that is ultimately always debated by a new administration, and you've talked there also about local government as well at the same time. And there's been many times that has been debated, local government reform, etc. We've gone through an election there just recently, which has been very difficult, very awkward because of the pandemic, and I think the timing of it as well, and the confusion that has raised with the general election for national politicians. So no, I couldn't really comment because again, as president of Tynwald, I'm there at the will of the members, and if they put a motion down to create that, then as I said before, this new register of business would actually give more time for the public, the media, and members to digest, research, and debate it in a more informed manner. So it'll be wait to see who gets elected and who actually brings the point up, Adam. But thank you for the interest, though.
Okay, that's great, Adam. Thanks for calling today. You mentioned some big names before. Obviously, the Lieutenant Governor was president of Tynwald, really ex officio up till 1990. So Charles Garouche, 1990 to 2000. Noel Kringle, of course, memorably 2000 to 2011. Claire Christian, 2011 to 16. Steve Roden, who's just retired, and now yourself. All forceful characters, all people who had opinions, and obviously, and many people now can't quite square the fact that you have to be scrupulously fair. You have to have everyone's confidence. Are you confident you can do that?
Yeah, it's interesting, really. Each retiring president, I've noticed, have made the same comment, and that is that one of the most difficult tasks is being impartial and not expressing a view. But it's a discipline, and I think is politically you learn that because you've got to hold your counsel, haven't you? In many cases, even as an MHK. But it is a challenge, and as I say, I've just had pretty much a baptism by fire for the last sitting of Tynwald, which there were a whole host of issues where I would have had a view clearly because I'd been part of many of those motions, but of course then you have to detach yourself from that, and that is for me all about having the respect of what Tynwald is all about, and it's and the role and the responsibility and upholding that integrity as the president of Tynwald, and that's what you've ultimately got to bear in mind. So it sometimes I can sure it won't be easy going forward, but I intend to uphold that integrity.
Just go back to the fact that you'll have a casting vote within Ledgeco. Obviously, you'll have that casting vote if there's a division in Ledgeco. How can you be impartial if you have to cast a casting vote?
I haven't checked, but I understand it's an exceedingly rare occasion that has occurred, and ultimately, you again, I think as president, because you authorise the order paper, you do need to be familiar with the subject matter that you're authorising. So therefore, you would privately hold a view, and therefore, at the time of if that occasion occurs, that you feel informed enough to make an educated vote on it.
Okay, here's a message in now from Julie, who just says, can you ask Mr. Skelly, obviously I understand government structure isn't part of your remit. What are your thoughts about the degree of governance over a small island? In short, are we over-governed? Blimey, we've heard that one before.
Yes, and I guess, what's the difference between government and Tynwald and Parliament? And that is scrutiny. And ultimately that's what Tynwald does. It does scrutinise policy, it does scrutinise the budget, it does scrutinise motions, etc. So and that's what question time is also about, is challenging and putting information into the public domain for debate. So do we have that? I would say yes, we do. That's part of our democracy, and Tynwald facilitates that scrutiny. So and as far as I can see in my experience, is that it does it to good effect.
Okay, let's go to the phones now, and it's Bonzo. Hello, Bonzo. You're live with the president of Tynwald.
Yes, hello, and good afternoon, Mr. President.
Faster my Bonzo. How's things in Port Lamora?
Sunny, actually, yes, and the satellite's working, which is why I can get through to Mannin Line.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes. Anyway, I'm very pleased to see you appointed to the office. Many congratulations on that, and also pleased to hear, to listen to your management of your first sitting of Tynwald, which I must admit, I think was a bit of a contrast to your predecessor in that it was brisk and sergeant majorly. And I look forward to more of that kind of brisk management of the chamber in the coming sessions.
Thank you, Bonzo.
I'm just wondering how you feel about possibly managing a much more partisan Keys and Tynwald after the elections than before, because I think it is quite likely that we will see some party blocks returned at the forthcoming election, and that will obviously put an entirely different dynamic, and that coupled with the fact that nowadays the incentives to be departmental members have been, in some ways, very much so diminished in terms of finance anyway. That there will be more people who will stay on the back benches. That will make for a much more, a much different environment. So how do you feel about how you're going to approach that and how you're going to manage that?
Yeah, no, it's a very astute, that, Bonzo, because you're right. I think the dynamic will be very different for government and Tynwald as a result of that. The patronage issue is being removed, in other words, to sit in a department, and therefore those who want to serve in a department and I would suggest provides insight and value, but also those who wish to exclusively sit on the outside and therefore scrutinise, they are not going to be penalised for that, and we will, I think, have, as you rightly put, a very, very different dynamic. So I look forward with interest to see the makeup of how that plays out, to be honest with you. But I would think that is further evolvement and enhancement of what is Tynwald, really, and the democracy that we all represent. So I hope it will serve the public well.
Yes, well, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And as I say, I look forward to hearing much more, I think, lively and sort of cogent and challenging debate, I think, rather than some of the rather more agreement-led type of discussions which have been had, and perhaps rather less thin-skinned responses from members of the government.
Yeah, the Register of Business will help too, Bonzo. The opportunity for members to put motions down and papers for laying 6 weeks ahead and be in public does, raise that opportunity to be for everyone to engage really, and hopefully have a much more informed debate about what the topical issues are of the day.
Although there is an argument about topicality and responsiveness in that. I had to, in a previous life, I had to draft answers to ministerial questions and parliamentary, and prime minister's questions occasionally. And you only got a week turnaround for that.
Yes.
And that, that was expected. Obviously, with the ministerial questions, where it's mostly once a month, that's a similar thing. But 6 weeks, I think it. It does have a tendency, I think, to sort of take out the topicality and make the response, much slower.
Yeah, that is of course just for motions for debate. Written questions, incidentally, can be done at any time, once the text of the question is approved, ministers will be expected to answer that, and that doesn't have to wait for a sitting. You see, so that will be another enhancement, I would hope, but
yes, quite, and also I was very impressed to see your attitude to oral questions, where there have been accusations of filibustering.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think one could hear that perhaps those accusations might have some basis, but. You're getting through oral questions so that it is not a question of people filibustering, so that embarrassing questions are then just pushed into written answers, so that they won't have the same impact.
No, we certainly did try and get as many through as possible there. So thanks for the support and comments there,
Okay.
Bonzo.
Okay.
That's great.
Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, good to hear from you, Bonzo. Thanks for being with us. And Chop joins us now. Hi, Chop. You're live with the president of Tynwald.
Hello, fast am I, Andy, and fast am I, Hector N.
Fast am I.
Just from your personal point of view, really, as your time as a minister within the Department of Enterprise, you said before that this last sort of few weeks have been sort of decoupling from your time as minister and also as an MHK into the role of president. Now, to walk away from the Department of Enterprise, basically, so the business on the promenade. I mean, the end goal is in sight for the promenade. So, but what support have these businesses got now? If there's no minister technically in that job, these businesses that have been suffering for quite a few number of years. I mean, I've seen a comment on Facebook that said that the promenade scheme has been going on longer than what World War II had, and I'm just wondering from a business point of view, what point of contact these businesses have got now, because in theory there's no minister for the Department of Enterprise.
Well, actually, there is. You may have missed that there, but Chief Minister assumed the role. When you take over the role of the president, you have to relinquish the ministry immediately. So Chief Minister has assumed that. So politically, and also the members are still in that department as well. You've got Rob Collister, Laurie Hooper, and Daphne Kane and Peter Greenhill who remain members of that department until a new government is actually formed. So and there are offices obviously that do continue, and government does continue throughout. It's well worth recognising that. So you can communicate directly with government, and Department for Enterprise would I'm sure, be able to respond there to you.
Right, I was a bit unsure. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't realise that the Chief Minister sort of picks up where you left off. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, he gets that. He has to assume that responsibility, and has accepted that. So that's in place until a new government.
So is he going into all the meetings?
He will be, yes, I believe so. And as I say, there are other members there too that do continue, and did see some of them there today. So even though I know some of them are out electioneering.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Job.
Cheers, fella.
Thanks very much now.
All right, good
Bye
to
for
talk
now.
to you as well. And we'll come to this because this will come up time and time again, Laurence Skelly. You will still get people stopping you in the street talking politics, won't you? You'll still get people asking your opinion. You'll still get people bending your ear. How are you going to approach that?
I think more of a listening mode rather than contributing, and there's still opportunity to signpost. Many times people ask questions about government, the structure of Parliament, etc., and it's really just a matter of signposting who to speak to, who to deal with, depending on what their circumstances are. So yes, no, and I welcome that, and it's always getting input and opinion from people. I don't think that'll ever stop.
Okay, delighted to have the new president of Tynwald with us live on Mannin Line today. And if you want to get in touch to chat about his role, how he sees the future, by all means do. Call 66 13 68, email studio@manxradio.com, or you can text 166 177.
Don't miss the Jacksons on Motor Mall Mini Motor Show at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show, Knockalo. Cars, vans, motorbikes, hybrids and electric. Plus extra special show-only offers all weekend.
Nice. Lovely. Fancy that.
You happen to your friends again, missus, on that Facebook thing, are you?
No, Jeffrey, I'm doing important research.
Yes.
I'm looking at what's new on Spectrum Windows. They've got a scotch of new coloured frames, fabulous sliding doors, contemporary windows, roof blandings.
Oh, let me have a look. We could do with some new windows in the piggery.
For all the latest products and news, find Spectrum Windows on Facebook. Visit spectrumwindows.im or the showroom in Ramsey, or call 817777.
When you need a monument for your loved ones, contact T.E. Cubban, a trusted family-run business for over 150 years. T.E. Cubban provide new memorial stones, grave renovations, new inscriptions and fire hearths. For quality workmanship and a professional personal service tailored to your wishes, visit us at Hope Street, Castletown, or at Broadway, Douglas. Call 844 440. T.E. Cubban, here when you need us.
NFU Mutual has supported the Isle of Man's agricultural shows for over 40 years. They're always great social events for the whole community and an excellent opportunity for us to meet you, our customers. So do come along and meet our friendly team at the NFU Mutual tent for a quote regarding your motor, home or business insurance. Look out for NFU Mutual at this year's agricultural show.
Dairy, meats, herbs, honey, preserves, baked goods and gin. Celebrate the best local produce in Defra's Manx Produce Marquee at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. Visit iomfoodanddrink.com.
The Manx Radio Touring team are back on the road this Friday and Saturday at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. Stop by and say hello and you could win a £200 travel voucher from the Isle of Man Steam Packet, an Isle of Man Creamery hamper and loads of Manx Radio goodies. We'll also have our free mobile charging stations so you can charge up your phone while you stop by for a natter. The Royal Manx Agricultural Show with livestock and entertainment for all the family. This Friday and Saturday at Knockalo Farm in Patrick. Supported by your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Laurence Skelly is here, the president of Tynwald. We're joined by Eddie. Hi, Eddie.
Hello there. I'd like to ask Mr. Skelly, why is it that the two main appointments of Tynwald is the president and the chief minister, and yet it's elected by the MHKs? Surely the president should be elected by the people of the Isle of Man.
Thanks, Eddie. That's a matter really that came up, I think, in the Lisbane report that was looked at the various constitutional decisions that are made. The president of Tynwald since, I think, Charles Cruise, since 1990, has been voted by the members of Tynwald. It's not the MHKs only. It's actually the LegCo members as well at the same time. Chief Minister, of course, is elected by the people as an MHK, and then it's the MHK's publicly elected people who then decide who the Chief Minister is, as well as the Speaker, who they do prior to the Chief Minister. So it's a matter, again, what I would suggest there is that you probably raise it with prospective MHKs who can raise that for a debate and trying to raise profile and opportunity for Tynwald to discuss it.
Unfortunately, with your ministerial members you've got at the present time, you basically control Tynwald. Yeah, you've got almost a majority every time, haven't you?
Well, you're talking about government there, but that did come out, I think, in the Lisbane report, Eddie, whereas government, i.e. the council ministers, do not have a majority, and they have been defeated from time to time. Even this last sitting of Tynwald, there was a vote that went against government there. So it does happen because they no longer do have that majority. It used to be up past, but not from this last administration, it's not.
Well, it's very rare that you hear them get defeated, because some of the mistakes they've made this time is unbelievable.
Eddie, just tell me, Eddie, how long have you been looking at Manx politics? How long have you been paying attention to Manx politics?
Well, I'm a senior citizen now.
Well, I was going to ask you, let's just say over the past 20, 30 years, which big politicians have stuck out for you? Which politicians do you remember?
David Cretney, the man from Honkin, who everybody laughed at, but to me had the most far-seeing views of the lot.
Peter Carron we're talking about.
Peter Carron, yeah. When you think of it, Peter Carron was talking what we had to do 30 years ago, and we're still talking about doing it.
Okay, Eddie. Thanks for calling. We appreciate your call. We're just going to move on now because Fenella's with us. Hi, Fenella. You're live with the president of Tynwald.
All right. Hello.
Good afternoon, Fastamai, Fenella.
Fastamai. I'm just wondering about some of the male members, are very rude to the lady members of the House when they get up to speak, and I just think it's not on. I think it's awful.
Just be specific, Fenella. What do you mean rude?
Well, they just and they're dismissive towards women. You may not notice that being a man, but they are, and that's why I'm not surprised we get so few lady members in the House.
Okay, well there are a lot of MLCs.
And there are more female members in this last administration than prior. So I think diversity has continued. I'm sorry that you've picked up on that, actually, Fenella, and I'll certainly keep my eyes and ears open, for that, because that would be totally inappropriate behaviour. But diversity does continue, and you will see what September brings again. And as Andy's just stated there, the diversity in the LegCo members has been really quite significant.
Okay, and I'm just interested. I'm intrigued actually by if you just expand on that. I mean, who do you think, and how has it manifested itself?
Well, I have heard bits on the of the conversation. When it's on the radio, I do listen to it, and sometimes people get up to speak. Ladies might get up and say something, and a man will get up after and just might be so dismissive of her that I think, well, no wonder there aren't more ladies in the House of Keys.
Have you ever considered politics yourself, Fenella?
I'm too old now.
You're never too old.
No, indeed.
You're never too old.
And that's diversity, Fenella. You do want a mix of backgrounds, genders, etc. So.
Okay, Fenella, we appreciate that. Now, Mr. Skelly will be keeping an eagle eye for that within Tynwald Court.
Now at ShopRite, you can get our low prices on your favourite national brands, or you could switch and save with our huge range of Buy Sainsbury's products for even lower prices. Choose from hundreds of products in store, with more arriving all the time. And the best part, you can enjoy savings of up to 50%. Compromising quality? We are talking Sainsbury's, and you can't say better than that. Sainsbury's at ShopRite, proudly locally owned.
Conister Bank is working to create a sustainable future for you, leading by example by influencing positive changes in our society. Environmental, social and governance practices are at the heart of what we do and help our customers make greener choices. If you're looking to improve your home energy efficiency or wanting to convert to an electric vehicle, make it a greener future with Conister Bank. Visit conisterbank.im/green. All loans are subject to status, terms, conditions and early settlement fees apply.
Health and social care services on the island are changing, and you could help shape their future. Here at the Department of Health and Social Care, we're looking for 2 volunteer public, patient and service user representatives to provide a voice for the people who use our services. You don't need any experience, just a desire to make a difference. If you can offer 2 days a month, call the recruitment team on 686 300 now for more details and help shape the future of our health services with the DHSC.
I am one call centre, the place to go. Great choice and prices so low. I am one call centre on Domain Road. Cars of every kind at prices that are hard to find. Visit on Facebook to see the range or call 611 040. Great service, choice and prices low. I am one call centre, the place to go.
It's another Caroline North weekend, but this time it's a 3-day weekend. Friday, Saturday and Sunday, live from the Ross Revenge. And it's also our annual fundraiser. We've got music from the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s as usual. And we're sponsored this time by Feature Story News. Join us this weekend live for Caroline North.
Online and 1368, it's Radio Caroline North, live from the Ross Revenge. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
We're with the brand new president of Tynwald, the Honourable Laurence Skelly. Are you an MLC or an MHK now?
MLC now.
MLC. So there we are. Well, we've got 6 weeks to go to the House of Keys general election. Do you remember when you decided to become an MHK?
Yeah, I do actually.
Was it a light bulb moment? Was it one point where you just thought?
It's a really good question because I think it's a calling more than anything else. And I think at the time for me it was on the sort of back of the financial crisis and the VAT issue, and I felt that I had some experience, to hopefully in terms of business background to try and steer particularly the economy in the right direction, because I know that we have to stand on our own 2 feet financially. So that was why I thought, well, I'd like to put myself forward and give something back. And I was very fortunate to be elected twice by the good people of Rushen and represent them and the island. So yes, it is more of a calling, I think, than anything else. It's unlike any other job vocation. It really is, but hugely rewarding, but hugely challenging.
Did you do much door knocking?
Yes, I don't think you can't not. It's the one thing you have to. In fact, I wore out 2 shoes, two different elections. To be honest with you, but that's what you have to go out and speak to the people.
I mean, when you decided to become an MHK and you went to the first door and you knocked on the door, what was going through your mind?
Well, it's trepidation. You really don't know what to expect. But equally, and I guess my advice would be to voters is you're going to get a knock on your door if you haven't already from one or multiple candidates, and you need to think of what is important to you. So as you can ask that question, what would you do in this particular circumstance? What's your views? What's your policies? What's your manifesto? And really, you need to look at those manifestos very, very clearly, because that's the ticket that each candidate is standing on. So, and ultimately, can you trust them, hopefully, to make the right decision for you and the island?
So your advice really, pay attention to the manifestos and don't just think, I want to get rid of these people from the front door. Chat.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, and they catch it at the wrong time, which they can very easily do. And that's the one wonderful thing we have on this island, is that politicians and candidates are accessible because of the size of our island, the size of our community. So if you need to ask a question, you can always give them a ring, send them an email, send them a direct message on social media, whatever. You can do that at a later date. But engage. Ultimately, it's your responsibility. To when we complain about government and the way things are going, it's because it's only got the people you've got that have been elected there. So exercise your democratic right and vote, of which, of course, I think 2nd of September is the last date to register to vote, and of course the big general election on the 23rd.
And obviously we only hit the reset button every 5 years or so. So as you say, we're resetting keys. 24 members will be coming in, come what may. They'll obviously elect a chief minister, and obviously then with the House of Keys and Legco together make Tynwald, and you're sitting over the top. Just tell me then, when you decided that you wanted to put your hat into the ring to become president, what did you think you could bring to the party? What did you think you could contribute? Because obviously you said you had experience. Obviously you were a Manxman in California for a while as well. Right. So you had experience, and you knew there was something going wrong with the economy, and you thought you could put it right. Tell me, is there anything particularly wrong in Tynwald that you think you can put right, or do you think the ship needs to steer another course?
Well, ultimately, any sort of reform, which I think you're alluding to there, Andy, is always in the hands of members, and we've been through that. I think the last administration last two administrations with the Lisvane reports. But for why I want to do it, it's really something that is a real honour, and I felt I had some background. I felt I had experience, and I had hopefully the maturity to be able to uphold that integrity of Tynwald, because that's the one thing that really stands out at me, because it's our oldest institution here on the island, but it's also our most valuable asset on this island. To be able to create our own laws here is really the opportunity to control our destiny, and for that I think we should all have respect for, and I have ultimate respect, and I will intend to uphold that.
And obviously, as you say, it's our oldest institution, and we say it very quickly that it's the oldest, longest continuous parliament in the world. Other people would be trumpeting that from the satellites that circumnavigate the Earth, and yet, do you think sometimes that people on the Isle of Man don't take politics seriously enough?
It's a good question, really. When do you take politics seriously? A lot of times it's when you're a little bit older, or where something goes wrong, and then you all of a sudden realise you need politics. But for us, I think democracy, we should value that, because when you look around the world, in this, we're a lot more worldly today in terms of our media exposure and travel, perhaps not in the last couple of years, but you look at other jurisdictions and you look at how they operate and what they have available to them, and then you turn around and have a look at what we have. And that's one of the greatest benefits I've had, is I've moved away as a Manx person and moved back, and I look at the Isle of Man in different eyes, more appreciative eyes, and the one thing that stands out is Tynwald more than anything else. It's our oldest institution, and it's our most valuable asset, without a doubt.
Okay, we've got about a minute left, Mr. Skelly, so I'm just going to ask you about COVID and how obviously when you were in Enterprise, you had a big workload regarding COVID, about getting business onto the Isle of Man. But in more general terms, how do you think the people of the Isle of Man have coped?
Well, the island, and I think government and Tynwald have performed incredibly well, because they really didn't know what they were going into. Of course, I was privy to a lot of information being part of Council of Ministers, and it was frightening at those very, very early days. And the challenges that have been continual, relentless, have been unbelievable, to be quite frank. But what I will say is that, we say this, quite loosely sometimes, but we should, again, respect the great Manx public for what they've endured and how we have got to where we are today. So, for my part, prior to becoming president, I do thank everyone genuinely for that. And now as president, I hope to uphold the laws, the motions, the questions of members who do come back in September.
Okay, you're going to tell me to get knotted. Who do you think should be Chief Minister?
I will absolutely tell you. I cannot make that call at all. And ultimately, those are the questions you want to ask your candidates on the doorstep. So I leave that to Keys candidates.
Thanks for being with us today. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, Andy.
That's it. We've been with Laurence Skelly, the brand new president of Tynwald today. Obviously, Keys general election in September. There'll be new members of Keys. There'll be some old members returning. Ledgeco and Keys together making Tynwald, and we've been with the president of Tynwald, the Honourable Laurence Skelly. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for your messages and calls. If you want to call out of ours, call 682-631 for the answer phone. Email manninline@manxradio.com. Thanks to producer Barry Redfern. I'm Andy Wint, and we're back live tomorrow for Open Line at 12 midday. And by the way, on Friday, live from the Royal Show at Knockalo.